On this episode of Chalk Talk, we are going to talk about the Caitlin Clark effect. For those who are unaware, Caitlin Clark is a women's basketball player for the Indiana Fever. She was the star player for the Iowa women's basketball team who made it to the NCAA Women's Finals in back-to-back years. Due to how good of a player she has been making many headlines and people always want to watch whatever team she's on. This leads to lots of eyeballs on her games, dubbed the Caitlin Clark effect.
Welcome to Chalk Talk. I'm Dave.
And I'm Josh.
We're breaking down college sports, our favorite team, Stony Brook, and the latest news affecting fans and the business of sports. Today we're talking about the Caitlin Clark effect, which I think is a myth. There is no Caitlin Clark effect.
Really?
Yes. I think she's a great player, and we've seen her do this in college, and now she's getting to the pros. But why do you say it's dubbed the effect? I don't see it.
Well, that is a good question, and definitely one to discuss. So basically, Caitlin Clark was this really good player, out of the Midwest, and she went to Iowa to stay close to home, and immediately the Iowa women's team started doing really well. They made it to the WNBA tournament many times, and everyone looked at that team and said Caitlin Clark was the leader of that team. She could dribble, she could shoot, she's an elite passer. She would make 3-pointers from that are like 5, 6, 7 steps beyond the line. Sometimes she made shots from almost half court.
And I agree. She's a fantastic player. I'm not going to deny you that. She is really great. I've seen her passing, and it rivals what the men's do on the men's side. So she really is good. But how are you saying it's an effect? What is it doing for women's basketball to make such a difference? I've seen some of it, but you and I have talked about it, that she really is a game changer. Why do you think she's a game changer?
So the reason I think she's a game changer, you have to kind of go back and look at other people who were game changers for their sports.
Okay.
The two people I see on the men's side of basketball were Magic Johnson and Larry Bird. There were other good basketball players, but those two were the best, and they really pushed eyeballs and viewers to the NBA, similar to how Caitlin Clark is pushing eyeballs and viewers to women's basketball. People really like how she plays. They look for a really good game to watch, and they say Caitlin Clark is a great player, and we want to watch her play.
And I agree. We've gone to a game, and I really thought it was the Caitlin Clark effect, and I feel bad because other women in the sport are doing so well, and they're not getting the same attention. I think Caitlin Clark is great. Even though I may not think it's a whole effect, I do think it brings a different level to the women's game because you're pushing women's sports to a different level. And I have always been a supporter of women's sports. I think they play a fantastic, hard game, and it's exciting as you watch it. And we've seen that as we've done it. We saw that with her when she's in college, and now she's out in the pros. She's really doing a good job. But I can tell you, she's getting knocked down a whole bunch. We've seen that against these other professional players. She's not holding her own.
Well, there's a difference between not being able to hold your own, like because you're not, because your stature is thin, and then there's not being able to keep up with them because they're outplaying you. I don't think any of these pro women are actually outplaying Caitlin Clark. In some respects, I actually think Caitlin Clark is outplaying a lot of these pro women. The problem that Caitlin Clark has been having, especially on the Indiana Fever, is that she kind of came into a situation that was not the best. There's a reason that the Indiana Fever had the first overall pick. It was because they were not that good of a team. That's
an understatement. That's an understatement. Come on.
No, wait. No offense to the other players on the WNBA who could kick my butt every single day. But
But on the Indiana Fever,
yeah, but I just have to compare the Indiana Fever to other teams like the Liberty, like the Aces.
well, the Liberty is fantastic, and you can't do that. You have a lot of good players on the Liberty. The Indiana Fever just can't hold its own. Now, is it because of the players and Caitlin Clark's going to help elevate them?
So my belief is that she will.
Okay.
She is that much of a game changing player. She's an elite dribbler. She's an elite scorer and an elite passer. She puts people in positions to succeed. That is something we saw all the time at Iowa. That was why the Iowa team was so good. And also, speaking of the Iowa team, they had season tickets for the Iowa's women's team, and in the 2023-2024 season, the season tickets were sold out. They completely sold out their stadium for Caitlin Clark games. How many times could I tell you that a women's basketball team sold out their stadium?
You can't. It's not really going to happen. They don't sell out their stadiums. They don't do it. So you're saying that's where the revenue of Caitlin Clark's coming in?
Absolutely. Caitlin Clark is a massive revenue generator. There's a reason she got at least $3 million last year just from NIL. And she was in State Farm commercials. She was in many different ads. And
yes, and we see that with name and likeness, which is NIL. She's really getting it, and she's making more than most players. And that's, I think, what's going on now. She's got this effect because people are going to see her, and they're not going to see the other pro players. So that's where I think the revenue comes in, that she's trying to bring more revenue to the game. Which, I love Caitlin, I love what she's doing, but I'm trying to figure out the main impact that it's going to cause across women's sports. Do you think it's going to precipitate into just the pro games, or is it going to go back and participate into the college games also?
So I'm going to say two things. One, have I convinced you that this is an effect now?
Well, I'm still not there yet. I'm still arguing, but I'm going there.
And two, finally we have this person named Caitlin Clark who a lot of girls can look up to and say, this is the type of player I want to be, and we will see the quality of ladies basketball elevate with Caitlin. With more people trying to emulate her style of play, with her elite dribbling, passing, and her really innovative shooting techniques, we will see the quality increase, and we will see new players every day try to be as good as Caitlin Clark. And I think that is a big deal, and that is going to make women's college basketball on the women's side much more enjoyable to watch. We're going to see better brands of basketball, and yeah, that's where I think on the college side we're going to see. That's how I think Caitlin Clark is going to have a lasting effect on the college side.
Which I think is really good, and I think a number of the coaches are starting to see that you need to have an elite player to really step out and for women and girls to follow. And Caitlin Clark is doing that, and she's doing it time and time again as you see it. And she pushes through. I saw recently where she was like slammed to the ground as she was just sitting there by some competitor in the pro league. They just went and like whacked her, and she just fell straight on the ground. And she didn't argue. She got up and did that.
That's true.
I don't even know who that player was.
So that person was a player named Angel Reese.
Angel Reese? Couldn't she get like fined or something, maybe thrown out?
Oh yeah, she's gone into some controversy with Caitlin Clark. I think Angel Reese really sees herself as like a Caitlin Clark rival, and I think is a little jealous because she is a great player, but she's not getting the same love that Caitlin Clark is. And if I'm being honest, I don't think she's as good as Caitlin Clark.
And then she shouldn't get the love and everything else. Caitlin can really turn around the game. I've seen it where we've been at a Liberty game and we saw her dribbling up, and just shy of the half-court line, she comes and puts a three-pointer and nails it. Perfect shot, everything else. If she can nail those kind of shots right off the half-point line, and they can start figuring out areas where she can get some space, she's going to nail and be a game changer. And I think hopefully we can get somebody else in the mid majors to do the same for women's sports, because that's really what we're trying to do, is elevate women's sports.
I agree, and I agree. And like I said, we're gonna see women look down and say, how can I be more like Caitlin, because Caitlin is that whole package. Now I want to talk, because you kind of alluded to this. We went to a Caitlin Clark game, funny enough, the only reason we went is because we knew Caitlin Clark was going to be there. So we live in New York, so we decided to go. So we decided to go and support the New York Liberty, and oh my God, that stadium was packed.
Oh, it was. You couldn't get a ticket anywhere in the stadium. I know how packed it was. We were sitting up against the wall because that was the only spot we can get a seat. The wall was like right here, and I'm looking at this court because there wasn't an empty seat in the house.
No, I know, and it was amazing. We got to see the Liberty play, and man, they are a good team. They are fun to watch. They have so many stars, and we also got to see Caitlin Clark. She definitely struggled a good amount, because look, the Liberty are just that good of a team, and also like her teammates like weren't really helping her a lot. So Caitlin Clark plays a style where she's very fast, and she needs her teammates cutting or getting into the middle of the paint so she can pass, or if she doesn't have that option, shoot the three. And her teammates weren't really fully adjusted to that style yet, so they were having some. So the Fever were having some problems.
And I think the Fever are going to have problems this season. As we see it, they need to develop, they need to understand, and they need to make now a whole offense around Caitlin and figure that out. Now, I know there's a number of players underneath the basket who are trying to score goals, but if they're going to turn around their season or their team, they have to actually start running things that will make Caitlin be open. We saw it with this game where there were a couple of times they had double team Caitlin and somebody else was open who could not shoot whatsoever. And that's never going to work, and it's not going to do it. You have to allow for Caitlin to be able to pass or get to a point where she can shoot to do that. But what's happening is every pro team is now looking at double or triple teaming her. And especially when she's on the Fever, there isn't another player that's a standout.
That is
what
true.
They have to do is start passing it out to start to doing something, and then give Caitlin some time. I also think, I'm sorry, I love women pros, and I know they're trying to play the hardest. I think they're shooting themselves in the foot, because if they're putting so much pressure on trying to stop Caitlin to do it, they're going to stop people from coming to the stadium.
I agree completely, and look, I am all for people. I'm all for people playing hard against everyone in the WNBA. I'm all for playing hard defense, playing well, but you have to understand that Caitlin Clark draws eyeballs, and she will only draw eyeballs for as long as she is good. But if you completely stop her, and you stop her every time, people will stop being convinced that she's good, and people will start turning off the games. Now,
if they're turning off the games, they're not going. And then if they're not going, you're going to go back to WNBA being that second tier sport.
Yeah, and look, the game you and I went to, it was like the first ever $2 million revenue game.
$2 million? That's crazy.
Yeah, for a women's basketball game, my God, it's crazy.
That is crazy, but that's great because the Liberty actually is starting to bring in more revenue, so they can start paying these players more than they're paying them. But the problem ends up being, this all goes back to how much effort they're trying to do. They're trying to knock down Caitlin so hard that she can't play. And I think that's such a horrible mistake by women basketball players. Is you should play a hard game, but you should have it where there's opportunities that Caitlin can play. I'm not telling you to let up at all, because I don't think that. But I think when you're being harsh to a player who really can elevate the game, you need to have a nice balance. I was working with somebody yesterday, and we were playing a friendly competition on something, and I made sure they understood the technique. They understood what was going on as they do it. And I think we need to get there. You are in a competitive sport because you're playing against one team versus another, but you are also there to develop other people. Caitlin could be one of those people that you really develop and be a game changer for the whole league and all of women's sports, going down to high school girls all the way up. And you have to realize that. And I think if you're just focused on your style of play and just knocking them down, as this Angie Reese is, you're going to really affect how this is viewed. And I like women's sports. I think they really do a good job. I don't want them to be sacrificed, but I could see that happening because you have to find that balance. And I know nobody wants to get into political junk with this, but this is really where it is. We talk about revenue all the time. Revenue comes from people attending the games and broadcast rights. If you have no draw, you're not going to get people to go. And I don't want to go back to the weight rooms that we saw before, where the women's NBA at NCAA had 2 machines in a weight room, when the men had these rooms that were massive. We saw that and we cried. We can't run women's sports that way. We have to really change. And I think that Caitlin Clark has a big effect. But I don't know how that effect happens the mid-major athletics.
So I think mid-majors could actually have this happen to a smaller degree. So obviously a Caitlin Clark is not going to go to Stony Brook.
Why not? I don't understand.
The opportunities just really aren't there. Okay. But I think this comes down to development and investment. So obviously Iowa invested a lot of time and development into Caitlin Clark, and she became this amazing player. And look, I think when you look at Stony Brook, look, for our women for the past few years have been really good, and slowly but surely there has been better attendance at these women's games, and I think that comes to show you, look, if we put a little bit of money into development, you will get results.
Right, we saw that with Ashley Langford, who just moved over to Tulane, but she did a great job in developing players and really pushing up the game.
Exactly. And I think that's what mid majors need to do. Focus on developing and focus on finding that person who can elevate you to new heights.
And I think that's really where it is, and I think we can really do that.
I think I want to talk to you about one more thing, though.
You got another thing to talk to me about? Really?
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
So very recently, the U.S. women's basketball team put out their Olympic roster, and Caitlin Clark was left out of it. And
yeah, well, she's a new player on the pro side. I completely expected that.
Really?
Yeah, I think that they're not looking to bring in that effect for the USA. I think they're looking at bringing people who are 26 years or older and who have a season record on the pro side.
Well, I think this was a missed opportunity to get some eyeballs on USA women's basketball. You have to realize our women have won the gold medal, I think, the past 3 or 4 times, and they're returning.
But nobody knows that.
You're right. Nobody knows that, and that's because there isn't someone like Caitlin Clark on that team to really draw people to basketball.
And I agree, but I don't think they were going to bring Caitlin on. I don't think there was any way they're going to bring that on, because they're looking at trying to continue to win again in the Olympics. They're not looking at the effect we're trying to do is bring audience eyeballs.
Well, I still think though they're going to win, and if they added Caitlin Clark, even if she didn't play much, she would also draw the audience eyeballs. This is the opportunity right now in front of you.
Yes, I agree, but I just don't think they were going to do it. They're not focused on that opportunity. They're focused on how do they win, bring the best players together who are a little bit older and more seasoned. Now, I agree, Caitlin is seasoned because she's played 4 years in high school, in college, and now a year on the pro side. But their impression they've given me is more that larger. They want people who've been playing the pro side for longer. Now, agree or not agree, I just think that she has a harder road to go, and I think that hard road is something that relates to life. you think about it, we all have a hard road in life, and Caitlin has now this opportunity to really excel women's sports, but she's going to have a hard road because there's some really good players who don't want her to be successful, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, I agree, but I still stand by my thoughts about USA basketball, and that look, this was an opportunity to increase eyeballs and viewership to USA women's basketball, and they shot themselves in the foot.
Yep, that's what happened.
Yeah, that is.
All right, I'm Dave from Chalk Talk.
And I'm Josh.
It's been a pleasure talking to you. Hopefully you liked it. Please leave comments below.
And also subscribe.
Have a great day.